Good afternoon to all. Welcome to this webinar organized by the Directorate General for Maritime Policy as the EEA Grants 2014-2021 Blue-Grow Program Operator. This is the fourth session dedicated to the presentation of the projects funded by the EEA Grants Blue-Grow Program and the second one dedicated to the projects in the area of ocean literacy. My name is Filipa Neto, and I will give you some additional information concerning the rules of this session. This webinar is being recorded and it will be available on our website and social networks. The webinar will last approximately 1 hour and a half. After project presentations, we'll have a small question and answer session. Participants who wish to intervene should raise their hands on Teams functionality and wait to be told that they can carry out their intervention. Only then the participant's microphone will be active. For more information, please visit the EEA Grants Portugal website on the page dedicated to the Blue-Grow program. Now we have the honor to announce the Directorate for Maritime Policy, Helena Vieira.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome again to this webinar series. We were kind of hoping to be already physically with some of you, but unfortunately it's not yet possible and it does not seem to be possible so soon. So we continue on this online format. I know we are all a bit tired of these online meetings, but I think it's important that we keep on giving a stage to the projects here today. So this is again, as Filipa said, the third seminar, the second one dedicated to ocean literacy, because we have so many projects in ocean literacy that we needed to break the sessions. As you know, the main goal of the project is to create value and sustainable growth for blue economy in Portugal and for the Portuguese stakeholders in this session. And with this particular session dedicated to the presentation of the ocean literacy project, we want to foster projects that raise awareness to marine and maritime issues such as marine litter, environmental sustainability, as well as water-related sports and recreational activities. This was, as you know, probably one of the most competitive calls of our program. Not the most, but one of the most competitive calls. We had 46 applications requesting more than almost 1.3 million. We had to increase the allocated funds in order to be able to have so many nice projects here today. And today we are presenting 10 more projects that represent about 250,000 of the allocated fund for this call. We will see projects from the north and the center of Lisbon area. And we have previously seen projects from also the south and also the islands. And it shows also that there is a nice geographical distribution. These projects aim to provide through campaigns and activities with the civil society, with schools and with athletes, social awareness to major issues facing our ocean today, which is actually quite a challenging matter. There is today a real global challenge in the relationship between men, society, and the ocean, and we've seen COP26 results, and it's with pleasure that we see the ocean referred there as well. So it's getting into the agenda. And this is only viable if we increase the ocean literacy of the population as a whole. That is to understand that we all have an individual as well as a collective role in regards to the ocean. For this reason, as I would like to point out, that ocean literacy is also part of the national strategy for the sea. It has its own strategic goal for the decade, which is the education, qualification, culture, and ocean literacy goal, and also a priority intervention area for the government in the next 10 years. So there is actually quite a good connection between the national strategy and the program also outcomes and desires. It is also very crucial to include society itself in this transformation and paradigm shift that we want to promote. And specifically here, we'd like to point the role of the younger citizens and the younger students that will be tomorrow's decision makers. As you know, the GPM with the Ministry of the Sea coordinates the national program Escola Azul, which is an ocean literacy program for schools up to to the 12th grade year. It has today over 287 schools just nationally. It involves over 50,000 students, and it already involves 104 partnerships in a network. This is only in Portugal. The program has now achieved international recognition, and it's creating the stepping stones to develop an all-Atlantic Blue School network with 14 countries around the Atlantic already giving some of the first steps, and we already have some international Blue Schools in our network today. Some of the projects we will see today actually have Blue Schools as partners, and this leaves us with a sense of achievement and very proud to see. But it also matters that ocean literacy reaches more than just the students. It has to reach more people and look to other audiences. The political sector itself, businesses, and also the media themselves. Some of the projects financed by this program, the Blue Growth program, also have targeted this audience, and this is very relevant so that we can actually spread ocean literacy. At last, I would like to point out that Portugal is clearly at the forefront in the world in terms of ocean literacy. In our country, there are numerous initiatives in this area promoted by a wide range of organizations, like the 46 that applied to our call. The projects that will be presented today are an excellent example of the best that it's being done here. I hope this session can be really fruitful to all of you. We have included the questions and answers part in the end so that it makes it more dynamic, and that we can all interact like if we had a coffee break after the session. So please take advantage of it, and I hope that all the promoters have a great session today. Thank you. Back to you, Filipa.
Thank you, Helena. Now we have the pleasure to announce the head of the National Focal Point, EE Grace 2014-2021 Financial Mechanism, Susana Ramos. Please, Susana.
Good afternoon to all. As a National Focal Point responsible of the EE grants in Portugal, it is with great satisfaction that I joined this event for the presentation of the contract projects within the Blue Growth, Innovation and Small and Medium Enterprises program, under the important program outcome of education, training and cooperation in maritime issues. The Blue Growth program has a special importance within the scope of EE grants, not only, of course, because it has the most significant global financial allocation in the current funding period, but mainly due to the broad scope of the supported areas, which are, as you probably know, the blue economy, research and innovation, and the maritime education and vocational training. It is also the program where there is a natural, strong bilateral interest with the EE grants donor countries, such as Norway and Iceland, to the importance that the sea has in our countries. I present a warm greeting to Mrs. Tove Westberg, Ambassador from Norway in Lisbon, with whom I have the pleasure to work very closely and with an excellent cooperation in the implementation of the EE grants in Portugal. In the person of Helena Vieira, I thank the invitation to participate in this event and again to witness the excellent work that the projects selected by the Blue Growth program are already delivering. In particular, I would like to congratulate Helena on the work of the GGPM team in operating the Blue Growth program, which has already approved over 80 projects with a total allocation of around 27 million euros. We are now looking forward for the completion of the selection on the remaining open calls that generated a high interest from applicants. I would also like to congratulate the project promoters and partners that are promoting ocean literacy with these 10 projects presented here today. For those who are not so familiar with the EE grants, it is a 7-year financial mechanism that results from the agreement on the European Economic Area, which was signed in Oporto in May 1992 between the member states of the European Union and the 3 EFTA states, Norway, Iceland and Liechtenstein, granting their participation in the EU internal market. The parties of this agreement created this financial mechanism known usually by EEA grants with the objectives of reducing economic and social disparities and at the same time strengthening bilateral relations. The current period of the EEA grants in Portugal supports 5 programs in 5 different areas: blue growth, environment, culture, work-life balance, and civil society. And also a special fund to promote bilateral relations operated by my team, directly by my team, the National Focal Point, which is the Fund for Bilateral Relations. The strengthening of bilateral relations between donor and beneficiary countries is the hallmark of EEA grants, an objective that, in addition to the economic and social cohesion, is of equal importance. To support this purpose, the Fund for Bilateral Relations, with about 3 million euros and operated by us, as I said before, have already selected over 50 bilateral initiatives in so many different areas, from education to innovative research, from public policies to performing arts. Recently, it was agreed with the donor countries the reinforcement of this fund from the reallocation of the reserve, which shows the importance of bilateral relations for EEA grants. On July 1st, a new call was opened to finance bilateral initiatives between Portugal and Norway in any area, but with a proven innovation component. The first cutoff was closed last week, but a new period for decisions will take place by May 2022. Also, at the current stage of implementation, all open calls have been launched in the remaining programs with a total amount of support of over 80 million euros. You can still find a few open calls ongoing, such as the Environment Program, as well as open calls for support of bilateral initiatives under the different programs. The Active Citizens Fund will still have funding opportunities in next year. And also, I'd like to recommend that you can check our joint websites, where you can find information on all the supported programs and funding opportunities still available, and be sure to also follow us on social media. We are very active there. In May 2021, under the Portuguese presidency, it was agreed within the EU terms to initiate the negotiations with the 3 donor countries for the next funding period of EEA grants, which we hope can swiftly reach completion to continue this important support for Portugal. Finally, let me just congratulate again all of the 10 projects for its selection under the EEA grants. Looking forward to hear the results produced so far. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much. We will continue this session with the presentation of the projects by the promoters. I request to all participants to turn off your microphones and cameras. Only the announced speakers should turn their microphone and camera on their slots. First presentation will be dedicated to the project Deep Listening, Deep Seeing, from the promoter Companhia de Música Teatral. Please, Mariana Miguel, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I'm here on behalf of Companhia de Música Teatral, and we are really honored to be presenting this project. I'll just share my screen in a second. So this project was created as a response to this challenge of increasing ocean literacy, and particularly concerning the deep sea, because we had been working with some scientists from University of Aveiro, which study that, and we think that due to its vastness, unfamiliarity, mysteriosity, and extreme importance for life on Earth, it would be interesting to discuss it and talk a bit about that. Deep listening is a term created by sound artist Pauline Oliveiros, in which we took inspiration of it to produce artistic works with students from both the regions of Aveiro, which is really a coastal zone in Portugal, and also in the countryside in Marvão, in collaboration with Science and Arts Academy in Marvão and Fábrica Ciência Viva in Aveiro. Our projects at Companhia work as laboratories and are developed in these three axes: artistic creation, the study of human communication, and also the generation of tools for human development based in the arts, specifically music. These projects are grouped as constellations and embody a lot of our creations and a lot of different components from the same project. You have here deep listening, deep seeing, which is one of the most recent ones, and that is divided as a workshop, but also as a conference in which we are presenting now, and maybe perhaps it will turn into a show, a publication, and lots of other things. For this project, we decided to use a different installation and collective instrument called pianoscópio, which is a deconstruction of the classical instrument, the piano, in terms of helping the students create their own soundscapes and create musical art based on the discoveries of these scientists with which we worked on from University of Aveiro in Portugal and also Bergen University in Norway, which provided us with conferences with the students directly, but also video footage that they saw. So here's a short snippet of pianoscópio. The first part of our project and our mission was to gather the students from the schools in Marvão, in the countryside, and present them with Ana Hilario, one of the scientists, which discussed her work, her scientific work, and we presented them with some video footage that he could see and inspire to create their own musical creations within pianoscópio. This happened last year in July. And gave us the products of lots of recordings from their own pieces and musical creations, which were then adapted on our second mission, which happened a month ago, if I'm not mistaken, in which students from Aveiro connected with different scientists, also from these universities, taught and discussed with them their concerns and imagination, and then created videos from the video footage that the scientists had made, but also introducing imaginary creations and creatures that they developed inspired by the things that the scientists had mentioned. This resulted in some sort of short films created by them. And also something we call the Polish phone, which is available in our site and is as a sound scout that you can visit, created by each group of students. These are some of the activities we have made with this feeling of trying to bring together students from 10 years old onwards up until 18, from several backgrounds, either from the coast side or the countryside, to create artistic ways of viewing the deep sea and the deep oceans, and also to raise some importance on what we are finding through the scientists and what we can do in the future to preserve it. So thank you. Looking forward to your presentations and your questions.
The second project is Once Upon a Time There Was a Fish Called Cod for a Sustainable Use of Marine Resources from the promoter Instituto de Educação da Universidade de Lisboa. Please, Beatriz Condenso, take the floor.
So good afternoon again. My name is Beatriz Condenso and I'm going to present the project Once Upon a Time There Was a Fish Called Cod for a sustainable use of marine resources that is coordinated by the teacher Cláudia Faria. As cod plays an important role in Portuguese history and culture, and cod fishing has a great impact on economical, social, and environmental issues, both nationally and globally. This project was idealized using this fish as a flag species to address and raise awareness among young people about issues such as sustainable management and preservation of marine resources. This project, therefore, intends to act in the valorization of identity resources, heritage, and culture linked to cod fishing through the creation of an educational resource in the form of a digital narrative based on testimonies and memories of people related to cod fishing. This resource will be available in digital format and will include information in several formats such as video, audio, text, and image, and also will be accessible on computers and mobile devices. In addition, the resource is able to be didactically explored in the context of the classroom and focus on exploring the theme in three strands: the cultural, the scientific, and the historical aspect. And also seeks to encourage learning through exploration, discovery, and curiosity. The resource is aimed at the school public, more specifically students in primary and elementary education. However, it can also be explored by the general public. Based on this resource, it is also proposed to create a didactic exploration script to guide and support teachers in exploring the educational resource with students in the classroom, in order to promote the deepening of issues related to sustainable fishing, climate changes, and preservation of marine species. Regarding to the objectives, the project aims to enhance the identity and heritage resources linked to cod fishing, promote culture in its various dimensions: scientific, historical, environmental, and technological, promote environmental awareness and respect for marine biodiversity, and also promote greater knowledge about the sustainability of fishing resources. In terms of project phases, we are currently in the first phase of the project, which will run until the end of the year. And this phase consists of research, collection, and analysis of information, as well as testimonials from people involved in cod fishing. In this first phase, we have the support of the Maritime Museum of Ilha, which has given access to the existing archive, and of the Cod Fish History Interpretation Center. The second phase of the project concerns the creation of the digital resource and of the didactic exploration scripts for the different education levels. And this phase will begin in January next year and will run until August. The third phase of the project involves the testing of the resource and exploration scripts in primary schools in Lisbon and Ilha, which will start at the end of this school year and run until the beginning of the next school year. The fourth and final phase is intended for the dissemination of the project and will begin in June and is expected to end in December. And that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Beatriz. Now, we will watch a short video dedicated to the project Pé de Feijão no Mar from the promoter Ocean Puzzle, represented by André Barroso.
The project Pet Feijão do Mar. It's a project developed and promoted by Ocean Puzzle Limitada, in partnership with Agrupamento de Escolas da Nazaré and Nazaré Marés de Maio, financed by EEA grants through Blue Growth Program. To create awareness about the ocean, we developed the project Pet Feijão no Mar. It will be divided in several different activities with different areas of interest, science, sports, and the exchange of local knowledge, working with different age range, starting from 6 years old without top limit of age. To accomplish this objective, we will follow the next topics. Mundus Cetáceos, it's a series of presentations with a special focus on cetaceans, dolphins, porpoises, and whales, their evolution, characteristics, distribution, and their importance to the ecosystem. All sessions end with an interactive quiz. Guardião do Oceano, it's a group of simple activities like memory game, guess who, salvar o golfinho, treasure hunt, and pequenos grandes marinheiros. All those activities were adapted to the sea life, so we can explain the interaction between species, including humans. Salvar o golfinho, the main objective of this game, is to create empathy with wildlife. We roll a dolphin buoy with a net and then we explain how this problem could be solved, including which entities we have to call to help in this situation. Pequenos Grandes Marinheiros aims to give the knowledge about some basic nautical terms, like portboard and starboard, for example. The main objective is to bring people to the sea, giving them the chance to navigate and to feel what's like to be on the ocean, because we can't protect what we don't know. And the only way to know it is to be in there. Desporto Escolar, it's developed in collaboration with Agrupamento de Escolas da Nazaré. It aims to promote the maritime sports at school community, such as sailing, stand-up paddle, canoeing, creating a different feeling on the ocean and its different faces. Mini Museu do Mar, it's a result of a partnership and allow us to show real items from marine fauna and flora, such as shells, coral skeletons, sea urchin skeletons, sand, and other particularities of the ocean, like the different depths of the ocean and their inhabitants. Thank you so much for your attention. Now we are open to answer any question that you have.
The following presentation will be dedicated to the project Ecomare SOS Marine Animals from the promoter Universidade de Aveiro. Please, Catarina Eira, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Filipa. I will start by sharing my screen. Please let me know if you're already seeing it.
Yes.
Okay. So the project is titled Ecomare, SOS Marine Animals, and is coordinated by Cesam at University of Aveiro. The project is based on all the work developed at the Marine Animal Rehabilitation Center at Ecomare, which mainly focuses on rescuing marine animals and then releasing them back to the ocean. The project will mainly focus on several problems. One of them is the arbor porpoise decline, a marine mammal that is disappearing from Portugal. We'll also focus on marine litter effects on marine animals. And we'll also try to focus on several other threats to marine top predators, especially fisheries bycatch. So the project main goal is to increase literacy on marine animals and their conservation threats, based on the idea that we can only protect what we know. In this project, we will include several tools,
such as audiovisual presentations about marine predators and their threats, enhanced reality videos showing animal interactions with human activities, and also live streaming images from the animals at the rehabilitation center. We'll also have some activities and stories for the younger audiences. So all these tools and others that we're still working on will be used along 13 school sessions with 2 partner school groups, the school groups from Gafanha da Nazaré and Gafanha da Encarnação, and we'll aim at having at least 350 students, although our first presentation has already covered more than 600 students. So you can find more information about our project in our social media pages and also on the web page, which will be available soon. And I will now introduce a small video of another tool that is in the project. So this last tool allows for a virtual visit to the rehabilitation center, and I hope you've enjoyed the presentation. Thank you.
We will proceed with the presentation of the project Blue Mind, Blue School from the promoter Fundação Luso-Ilírio para o Desenvolvimento Humano. Please, Lourenço Xavier de Carvalho, take the floor.
Hello, everyone. Greetings to all. I'm happy to be here to share with you and mostly to hear about your projects. And I will start sharing my presentation. Well, Blue Mind at Blue School, it's a project that is being developed under the support of the EEA grants. And mostly I like to see this set of partners also as a metaphor for our oceans, because we usually tend to see the oceans as separate oceans, like the Atlantic, the Pacific, and so on. But in fact, we know that it's one ocean. We are all connected by the water. And the same happens in many sectors in which we are involved for some years now in our activities on values education. And that is reflected here in this project in a very explicit way, when we have the maritime policies and the education policies and the sports policies together working under the same project. And this is something that we are proud to be part of, and we have been witnessing relevant results on this approach. Also, at the donor side, we have a relevant partner, which is Solfrid Rakens, which is a renowned expert in education and psychology, which has been working with us for many years at the Values University, and she has been very supportive from Bergen. Now mostly working with children with trauma and helping us to see how ocean can also help to overcome trauma and exclusion. So in a short presentation, I chose to share this image, which is actually a metaphor that we have been working a lot at schools during this year. We have been working in the north, center, and south of Portugal, namely with Vila do Conde and Póvoa de Varzim schools and ocean clubs. Also at Nazaré School, and in the south in Algarve, in Lagos School. Now we are moving towards Azores with some students and teachers to finalize the project. And as I was saying, this metaphor is important because firstly, it gives us the clear impression that we have a borderline between the surface, what's under the surface and what's over the surface. This is an image that also in education and knowledge management theories is very relevant because it shows us that this iceberg has most of its mass under the water, and we only can visualize part of it, which is over the surface. And this is a metaphor for many things in life, but especially on education, because we have been witnessing that we know much more than we are able to make explicit. And in the same way, there's an invisible, intangible, implicit part for everything that is visible and material. And this is also reflected in many guidelines for education, OECD, European Commission, UNESCO, like the Treasure Within, in which the pillars of education, it's not only to be able to do things and to have things, but especially to know how to be, and that's under the surface. So there's also this Portuguese poet, Fernando Pessoa, which says that something hidden lives in each thing, which in Portuguese I think more clear, because em toda a coisa uma coisa oculta mora, and this impression gives us the very huge importance of what is not explicit and drives everything that is explicit. The values, the ethics that are behind everything we do, and that becomes material. The same happens at school. Social, personal, and civic competences development is a cornerstone for the citizens' development and even for the professional development. And so when we are talking about blue growth as well, we have been arguing at schools how important it is that we have a blue school, a blue economy that is funded on a blue mind and blue ethics. So a blue mind is the mind that has all those fundamental values of peace and harmony and well-being that makes possible to create a blue school. Because about economies and schools, we have a lot of experience, and we see how economies have been developing. However, economies cannot be sustainable without fundamental values and ethics driving them. And the same happens in the ocean issues. So what we have been doing mostly is going to schools and help students to develop tools where they can, especially at ocean environments, control key factors of their development. And this is mostly related with breathing. They learn how to use breathing as a tool outside of the water and also inside of the water by free diving. So again, this image of the iceberg giving us the impression that there's a borderline that we have to control when we breathe and when we don't breathe. And that's the fundamental aspect of this project. So we bring schools and students to the swimming pools as well, to train them in fundamental key aspects of free diving and breathing control. And then we take them to the ocean and practice those skills by free diving, enjoying, creating a blue mind in active contact with the ocean. And another important part is to develop safety. So we also give a lot of inputs regarding safety in ocean activities. And this also creates the safety and the well-being on the water, so they can really enjoy and develop their blue minds. Finally, also as a civic implementation of this blue mind, is to take responsibility for the ocean. So also cleaning activities of the oceans are included in the programs that we develop, and creating this, what we call the caravan of the ocean values, going around the country and building up in previous projects that we have with interactive activities at land, but also at the ocean with this Blue Mind boat that we were able to set up with this fundamental support. Finally, we invite you to the final conference of the project, which is December 16th, and we will have important participations like the former recordist of freediving and world champion Umberto Pellizzari from Italy, the creator of the Blue Mind concept, Wallace Nichols from California, among other keynotes that we are looking forward to hear, and we invite you here to take part. So thank you very much.
Now we will watch a short video dedicated to the project Edumar, Known to Protect, from the promoter APLM, Associação Portuguesa do Lixo Marinho, represented by Maracé.
The project Edumar, Known to Protect, is promoted by APLM, the Portuguese Marine Litter Association, in partnership with two schools, Externato Cooperativo da Benedita and Colégio Balsacina. The Portuguese Marine Litter Association has the mission to protect the ocean against the impacts of marine litter and to raise awareness, promote co-responsibility towards sustainable consumption values, as well as environmental protection. APLM provides educational and training activities to all publics and disseminates knowledge about marine litter and microplastics supported by science due to its involvement with the scientific community. Main goals of Edumar are design pedagogical resources for ocean literacy, together with the target audience, and promote individual and collective responsibility and lead to action to take care and protect the ocean. Target audience are students from all school levels, as well as teachers, educational assistants, and the surrounding community. The project takes place in the partner schools to promote co-design and co-creation of these resources. Pedagogical resources will be made available to other schools in order to replicate these actions. The project has started in January 2021 and will last 1 year. The project is outlined in 4 areas as follows. Actions in schools, where awareness-raising actions are promoting ocean literacy and cooperation, and contributed to prepare students to create the games together with the Edumar team. The games were co-created by the students who outlined the main ideas for each game. The younger ones also made several drawings to be included in the games. The students' ideas and proposals were then structured by the Edumar team, which also created the rules for the games, prepared the questions and challenges, and physically built them. Games were tried out by the students, Adventures by the Sea for the younger students from 2 age groups with the objective to save marine animals in danger, Clean Sea, in which litter from a sea box will have to be removed in order to open a treasure chest, and the oldest students naturally thought of a more complex and challenging game, the CCO, Ocean Cooperation Center. Several artworks have been carried out by the students, new ideas. An example is the installation Peixe com Consciência, which you can see in the top left image. In addition to scientific lectures, training actions were developed specifically for the educational assistants and for the teachers. All this information and additional information is available at the Edumar official site, which you can see the address here. And thank you.
We will proceed with the presentation of the project Ocean Roots, Exploring and Enhancing the Maritime Culture of Esposende, from the promoter Rio Neiva, Associação de Defesa de Ambiente. Please, Cristina Nava, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Filipa. I will start by sharing the presentation. Let me see. Okay. So our project name is Ocean Roots, Exploring and Enhancing the Maritime Culture of Esposende. I will start just by briefly introducing our organization Rio Neiva is an environmental NGO situated in Antas, more specifically in Esposende, in the north coast of Portugal. We develop several activities throughout the year, such as nature sport activities and also environmental education activities for the scholar community, but also for the general public. Regarding our projects, aim is to basically explore and relate the different dimensions of maritime culture in Esposende. It is being promoted by Rio Neiva in partnership with the local school, which is a blue school, and its target audience are students aged between 6 and 15 years old. Our objectives are basically to promote a global and interdisciplinary vision of the ocean, increase students' knowledge of the territory and its interdependence with the ocean, and also straighten the link between the school community and the NGO and other existing municipal initiatives. More generally, we want to integrate ocean in the school curriculum, combine ocean literacy and citizen science, and also integrate, as I said, the project in the school, in the Blue School educational program. So students will create 6 ocean routes. These are the routes all related with the maritime culture of Esposende, such as biodiversity, civilizations, nautical, flavors, music and literature, and sustainability. Each of these routes will have 3 moments. A first moment of introducing the thematic in the classroom, then the students will be invited to come to the outside to explore and collect data, and then the third thing to do is to process and analyze the data in different subjects. All these routes will be supported by the knowledge of different local actors working in the thematic of the ocean here in Esposende, such as the Natural Park, the Environmental Education Center, the Maritime Museum, and among others. So that's it. The outputs of the program, of the project, will be 6 art cartograms that will result in an exhibition about the maritime culture of Esposende, but also a book, and then a school blog diary of the field sessions, and ultimately a scientific publication. So that's it. Thank you for your attention.
Now we announce the project Kids Dive Portugal Norway from the promoter Maré Ispa. Please, Frederica Almada, the floor is yours.
First of all, let me thank you for this opportunity to talk about our project. My name is Frederico Almada. I work at Maré Ispa. I'm a marine biologist, and this project is in partnership with the Câmara Municipal de Sintra and Blue School from Sintra also. We have another Blue School that it's a partner on this project, which is Jessheim School in Norway. And this project basically first idea arises from our work as marine biologists, and from the fact that we noticed how things are changing, and how things are changing not for the best, but instead many times for the worst. You can see us here working both in intertidal areas and also scuba diving, and we are noticing not only a decreased number of species, but also a decreased number of individuals of each species. And so, as marine biologists, we have the sense that there's no time to waste. And that's why we try to reach out from the academia, from the university, and try to reach schools, in this case, 2 Blue schools, both in Portugal and in Norway. Also, as marine biologists, we have the feeling that when we think about the sea, most of us think about beaches, sail, or surf. And since we work underwater, in fact, this picture that you are seeing here with this big dusky grouper was taken less than a week ago in Madeira. What about underwater? So how about talking to or showing everybody what we are able to see underwater. And that's what we try to do with this project. The name Kids Dive explains most of it. So we take these young kids from 8 years old to 17 years old to scuba dive, and we try to show them the wonderful things that they can see while scuba diving. Our kickoff meeting was made on the 13th October, where we had the pleasure to count with the presence of these two blue schools that I was just talking about, the Jessheim School in Norway and the Professor Agostinho da Silva School in Sintra, Portugal. We also had the presence of both ambassadors and representatives from the Blue Growth EEA grant and DGPM Escola Azul, and colleague scientists that allowed us to show the kind of challenges that we have had if we want to recover some of the things that we have been watching in the ocean. Besides this work, I don't know if you noticed in the previous picture with the dusky grouper that we took at Madeira Island, we were recording that scuba diving with a VR 360 camera, and we had the opportunity to show all participants how they can live a virtual scuba diving with these cardboard VR 360 masks. And we are actually creating new contents in this kind of video format so that we can share with others, and we can show everybody the differences between the habitats, the marine habitats in Madeira, and also marine habitats in continental Portugal, either in the north or in the south. Because people get amazed with the fact that we can see forests underwater, we can see prairies underwater, and in each of these environments, you will find different animals as exactly the same as you may have already noticed in land. In terms of outreach activities, we were able to participate in 3 activities with more than 250 participants in a whole, where we had the opportunity to not only to address this EEA grant project, but also to take people to do this kind of virtual scuba diving activities. In terms of activities of the Kids Dive itself, you can see here some of our activities in the swimming pool. As you can see, we have a number of environment enrichment activities in the water. All of them are related with things that they later talk in workshops. For instance, you can see here one of the participants going or trying to go through a transparent plastic barrier. And here you can see them writing a message of conservation underwater. And here you can see our kelp forests underwater also in the swimming pool. So just to show you a few examples of the kind of activities that we start in the swimming pool, and then later on we try to go a little bit further in the workshops that we are making with our participants. What we are planning next is for the spring, and we are discussing already with both schools how we can do this exchange. The dates that are already laid forward are in April. We will receive some students from Norway in Portugal, and in May some of the Portuguese students will visit Norway, and we will have the opportunity to do these swimming pool activities in both countries. And so for us, it's quite enthusiastic, because it's the first time that we are taking this project beyond Portuguese borders. And the fact that we were just at Madeira Island with this project also was kind of a nice warm-up to show that we can actually take Kids Dive elsewhere than continental Portugal, and to show it to other schools and other blue schools that are participating in these projects. Thank you for your attention. I'm sure that there was lots more to say, but I invite you to visit us in our webpage or to visit us in our social networks so that you can not only see some more videos of our activities, but also to learn a bit more about Kids Dive. Thank you.
Okay. The next presentation will be a video from the project Ocean Heroes Club for an effective citizenship from the promoter Associação Natureza Portugal, WWF, represented by Katia Nunes.
Hello, everyone. My name is Katia. I'm the head of education in WWF in Portugal, and I'm here to present you a project that we are currently doing and implementing in Anselmo de Andrade, the school in Almada, that is called Ocean Heroes Club. And it's a club for an effective citizenship. This is something that we want to bring up with students from 7th to 9th grade that are currently in the club. So what is the target of the club and what we want to achieve with it? We want to promote a culture of effective citizenship, and that is related to our Cs, and is also a space that intends to implement a series of actions that have a double aspect. The first aspect is to seek to sensitize and train students about issues related to the sustainability of marine resources, and also the importance of the oceans for us and for nature. And the second one is to show the importance that each and every one of us has in the conservation and enhancement of the ocean. How are we going to do this? So we started with the first stage, that was a recruitment stage, where we go to different classrooms and we talk to the students and present them the ideas that we have for the club, and then they could candidate themselves, or they can fill Google Forms where they say they wanted to participate in the club. And then it shows them. We have now 20 students participating in the club, and we have already done the club launch with them. The launchment of the club was done with a mural painting in the room that they are using for the club. It's their room, their space, and we think this is really important. And currently we are doing the classroom sessions. In a further stage of the project, we want to go to the beach and also do sessions with nautical sports. And by the end, we want them to develop ciclo tertulias. This is like a get-together action where they are going to invite professionals of the ocean to talk to the school community, and they are going to moderate the conversations with them. And we'll have a final session where we are going to present everything that we have done in the club. During all the stages of the project, we are also developing an activities guide where we are going to write down all the activities that we have developed with them, the methodologies that we use, and the themes and topics that they have chosen to work with in the club. And this is also going to be presented in the final session. So just that I keep in time, I'm just going to share with you pictures of the sessions that we have already done. You can see they are really happy. We can show their faces. We have, of course, authorization to do that, but we prefer not to show their faces. So you can see they're happy. We also invited a youth from our leadership program, and he's here in the right talking to them. And also we have the mural that they are painted, and they were really, really excited to do this, and they participated in the painting. So this is my last words. I thank you very much for watching this presentation, and I'm here to answer to your questions. Thank you.
Thank you. And the last presentation will be dedicated to the project Gone, A Drop in the Ocean, from the promoter Universidade do Minho. Please, Fábio Faria, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Filipa. Can you listen?
Yes.
First of all, congratulations to these amazing projects. Now I'll try to share my screen. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to talk a little bit about our project, Gone, Uma Gota no Oceano, that in English can be translated to a drop in the ocean. The promoter of this project is the University of Minho through the CBMA, Center of Molecular and Environmental Biology. This project is materialized in a podcast about ocean literacy with the same name, Uma Gota no Oceano, and I will be the host and the producer of this podcast. So why a podcast? At CBMA, we start from a premise we use in science communication that says we have to be where the people are. Well, nowadays, people are listening to podcasts. In Portugal, podcast consumption is increasing year by year. In this graphic, you can see a study from Reuters report 2020. And to the question, have you listened to any podcasts in last month? We ascertained that in 2019, 34 of the Portuguese listened to a podcast in last month. And in 2020, that percentage was 38%, which means 4% raise just in 1 year. Well, in our target audience, which is from 15 to 20 years old, 52% listened to a podcast last month. So this is a well-known and very used platform by our public. On the other hand, podcasts make the information personal. It allows the audience to hear the true voice of the protagonist, for example, the scientist, the fisherman, the educator. And the podcast is permanently available, so timeless dissemination is a really important feature, and it can be listened everywhere, at work, at home, in a car trip. There will be 24 episodes, each one with a different guest and approaching a different subject. The episodes are based on a conversation between the host and the guest. It won't be just a standard interview. It will be a conversation for about 30 minutes with a simple language and dynamic talk to keep the interests of our young audience. In this slide, you can see some of the topics that we pretend to address with our guests. Ocean literacy is more than just science, so we'll do a social, economic, and cultural approach. And how do we reach our public? We will submit some press releases to announce the release of this podcast. We will have a project website and a blog and Instagram, so we can have a two-way dialogue with our target audience and keep them engaged with this project and its content. They can propose themes, raise questions, or suggest guests they would like to hear in our podcast, and we will have direct contact with the schools. To finish, I like to say that ocean literacy projects are not just a drop in the ocean. Each one of them is one more drop in the ocean. Every action counts. Each one of us and society in general is responsible for the future of the ocean. So every drop is important to make an healthy and sustainable ocean. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Fabio. Thanks for all the promoters for their excellent presentations. It is wonderful to see how the projects are going. Now we will open the question and answer session. I ask to all the promoters that presented their project to put their cameras on. And considering the audience, if you have any question regarding the presentations, please raise your hand on Teams functionality so we could give you the floor for a short intervention. Oh, Elena, yes?
Sorry, I was looking for my hand and I spoke before looking for the hand. First of all, I wanted to say thank you to all of you for the great projects. You know, for those of us who are used to seeing science and economic projects, it's always a pleasure to see these type of projects being presented, because they are, not to say the least, beautiful. But more than that, they are actually impactful in our kids, in our society. So congrats on all of that. I would like to ask you something, which is, and one of you or all of you could answer, but we don't have time for all of you to answer. So one of the things we understood was that this type of calls actually has a lot of applications, because unfortunately there is not enough funding available, public funding available for all the actions that would like to be funded. So there's always a lot of people coming for a little amount of money, and it makes it very competitive to provide funding for the best applications. So as a fund management entity, as DGPM is, and the people who gave you this type of funding, how do you think that the EEA grants can actually help you boost the results of your project? What else could we do for you that could help you boost your projects? So if anybody has any idea to share, now is the moment to give us some feedback on that. Thanks.
Yes, Frederico.
Well, mostly what I would like to say, and thank you, Elena, for your question. It's kind of easier to answer that one than another one that would say, what will you do if the COVID-19 gets worse again? And I'm sure that would be harder to answer. But I think that I can explain not what you can do in the future, but what you have already done with this financing for Kids Dive. We had a project that was basically a national project, and this small grant allowed us to be a little bit more ambitious and to take it beyond the Portuguese borders. And sometimes I'm only using this as an example that sometimes small grants can provide a nice development for some projects and can give them scale, or at least you can put people thinking about enlarging the scale of the projects and maybe taking them for a little bit further than they have previously thought. And I'm sure that there will be lots of ways in the future for this kind of finance or funds to take Kids Dive even further, as well as all these wonderful projects that were presented today. But I would like just to give you this example. You allowed us to go a bit further than we have previously thought.
Thank you, Frederico. We have also Catarina Eira.
Yes, thank you. So I would like to add that something that could really help us in the future is to continue financing projects like these ones that we are holding at the moment. As you can imagine, we have fundings are and we need to continue the work for a long period. So we really want to educate young people so that they can grow up knowing about the problems that human activities can bring to the conservation and to the marine biodiversity. So it would be really good that these fundings like the EEA grants could continue to fund projects like these ones. Thank you.
Philippa, may I just answer some of this last comment very quickly? Just to say that although there are little, at least on our side, on the marine side, we cannot say that we have a lot of funding that is specifically allocated for this sector, for this area. Sometimes I question if all the potential promoters are aware of all the potential funding sources available out there, because as Susana Ramos said in the beginning, the EEA grant has other programs, and some of these projects also can have additional funding depending on the activities. And for example, one of the things Frederico just mentioned, which is the international relation and going broader, some other programs within the EEA grant can also help the bilateral fund, and relations and exchange of experience can have some additional funding there. So I encourage you to look there. Also, the culture program could also have been a good source of funding, and I know they have actually funded quite some interesting projects as well. So just to say that it is limited in terms of volume of funding compared to, for example, to science funding, which is also a lot expensive. But also there are, I think it's increasing the potential sources of funding for these activities, and this is also very positive. But just wanted to say to you, Catarina, that it's quite present in our mind, and we actually fought a lot to have this call, to have this funding, and we doubled the funding in the call after the call was closed, because we really went fighting for more money because there were so great projects there. So I really wanted to let you know about this as well, because I think it's important for you to know. And of course, here at the Ministry, we are quite aware of this, and we hope to continue supporting this, as it's part of a strategic goal in the National Ocean Strategy. So we have to put the money where the mouth is.
Thank you, Helena. I will just give the word to Lourenço Xavier de Carvalho. Lourenço?
Yes, thank you for the question. Although my immediate answer would be the same as our colleague Catarina, I would like to go beyond that a little, because maybe if there were even smaller grants, and I hope the other colleagues don't beat me because of this, but not for us, for these promoters, for the beneficiaries, like the schools, the Blue Schools, because Blue School program is wonderful and has a very interesting puzzle of partners offering a variety of inputs for ocean literacy. And what we see at schools now during the project is that they feel limited to access many of those offers. So if there were eventually very small grants for the schools, so that to support them to access the offers from some of these project promoters, that could be helpful. And eventually the promoters of the projects that are ongoing could even act as a kind of intermediary promoter to support the schools in accessing those offers from other partners. So meaning that these grants wouldn't be for us as promoters, but mostly for schools to feel free to access many opportunities that exist, and sometimes they don't access for some reason.
Okay. So we are just on time, so I thank you for all your interventions. We will now continue, and we have the honor to share a video message of Your Excellency, the Ministry of the Sea, Ricardo Serrão Santos.
Caros colegas do Ministério do Planeamento, uma palavra também à Direção-Geral de Política do Mar, uma saudação à Unidade Nacional de Gestão dos EEA Grandes, caros parceiros da Noruega, Islândia e Liechtenstein, estimados promotores dos projetos apresentados, caras senhoras e caros senhores, hoje ouvimos falar de projetos visionários. Testemunhamos o entusiasmo, a centelha de uma nova ideia a ser alimentada para tomar forma como um projeto futuro, atividade futura ou negócio, focada em pôr mãos à obra. Estas sessões permitem-nos perceber que temos uma sociedade civil, instituições, centros de investigação ou um setor empresarial ligado ao mar, frutífero, em ideias que merecem ser encorajadas. O Programa de Crescimento Azul das EEA Grandes apresenta-se assim como impulsionador de oportunidades, quer para a promoção de uma sociedade informada no domínio do oceano, quer para fomentar a investigação marinha em vários domínios, quer ainda para os vários setores da economia do mar em Portugal, cujo desenvolvimento irá estimular a economia nacional e a criação de emprego tão necessários numa década que começa com uma pandemia que ameaça a estabilidade económica e social. Mas, sobretudo, estes projetos assentam em princípios de desenvolvimento sustentável. Estes projetos podem e devem desempenhar um papel na recuperação económica e social, mas esta recuperação deve também representar uma mudança de paradigma na forma como enfrentamos outros desafios globais, igualmente prementes, tais como a emergência climática, os fenómenos de acidificação do oceano e da sua desoxigenação, a poluição marinha, a perda de biodiversidade. Assim, as ações e soluções que os projetos financiados pelo Programa Crescimento Azul alinham com a comunidade internacional, muitas organizações e governos que promovem os Objetivos do Desenvolvimento Sustentável da Agenda 2030, onde destaco o Objetivo de Desenvolvimento Sustentável 11, sobre cidades e comunidades sustentáveis, o Objetivo de Desenvolvimento Sustentável 12, sobre consumo e produção responsáveis, e, claro, o Objetivo de Desenvolvimento Sustentável 13, sobre a ação climática, e o Objetivo de Desenvolvimento Sustentável 14, sobre o oceano, mares e recursos marinhos. Permitam-me referir a Estratégia Nacional para o Mar, aprovada este ano, cuja visão é promover um oceano saudável para potenciar o desenvolvimento azul sustentável, o bem-estar dos portugueses e afirmar Portugal como líder na governação do oceano, apoiada no conhecimento científico. Alinhados com esta estratégia, agora, mais do que nunca, precisamos de uma sociedade informada que apoie decisões políticas baseadas no melhor conhecimento disponível, e é por isso que cada vez mais ouvimos falar de literacia do oceano e da sua importância. Precisamos de uma comunidade científica vibrante que proporcione este conhecimento crescente do oceano, e esta é uma necessidade global que levou à implementação da década das Nações Unidas para o da ciência do oceano para o desenvolvimento sustentável, que irá decorrer até 2030. E precisamos de uma comunidade científica que informe tanto os decisores como também o setor privado. E por último, mas não menos importante, precisamos de uma rede de empresários inovadores, empenhados em redefinir modelos de negócios, promovendo assim a descarbonização da economia e a aplicação dos princípios de economia circular, fomentando a eficiência dos processos e a sustentabilidade dos recursos. Esta ambição está de acordo com as conclusões do Conselho Europeu sobre Política Marítima Integrada, dedicada a uma economia azul sustentável, tomadas durante a presidência portuguesa do Conselho da União Europeia. Neste processo, os mecanismos de financiamento são essenciais e as parcerias também são essenciais. Financiamentos como os EEA grandes e as parcerias entre a sociedade civil, universidades, centros de investigação, empresas e também parcerias com entidades dos Estados doadores. Estas parcerias são importantes para o intercâmbio de conhecimentos, competências, aptidões e técnicas que irão impulsionar ideias inovadoras de que precisamos. Devo reconhecer que a Islândia, o Liechtenstein e a Noruega têm sido companheiros incansáveis no estabelecimento destas parcerias e no estímulo à economia azul em Portugal. A Unidade de Gestão Nacional e a Direção-Geral de Política do Mar são os motores por trás deste trabalho, um trabalho contínuo e diário de concretização do Programa Crescimento Azul e de um estreito relacionamento com os beneficiários. O meu muito obrigado à Direção-Geral de Política do Mar por promover mais esta sessão e a todos vós por se empenharem no futuro de um oceano sustentável e saudável.
On the behalf of Your Excellency, the Minister of the Sea, Ricardo Serrão Santos, the webinar is closed. Thank you very much for your presence.